Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mad Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to go back to the Hydra boss. This was the raid rant I was going to put a few days ago, but preempted it for the cheating scandal, the re-up of the cheating scandal, which everyone's been talking about, and that, by Lord, I hope they get out of the game because I just don't want to see. You know, I've talked about this and we'll just touch briefly on it. I always said, if you are circumventing the spirit of the game, I don't personally agree with it, but I don't consider it cheating. There's many different ways to do that. Even boosting, though I'm glad they fixed it, I don't think there should have been any reparations or reprimand against it because it was using current game mechanics to their advantage. It's no different than clan hopping. Current game mechanics allowed for clan hopping. People used it. That's Plarium's fault. Same with when they did the Platinum Arena boosting. It was within the game. It was not within the spirit of the game, but it was within the game. But using a third-party engine to enhance your speeds so that you can get more kills in and therefore win, that's where I draw the line. I know some of you think, well, then we're not going to get into a big debate about it. There's plenty of videos out there that you can debate on, but that's where I personally draw the line. But today we're going to talk about the Hydra boss, and this is 2022, so I'm going to be solutions-oriented. I'm not only going to talk about the 3 major flaws I see with this content, well, we'll call it 4. I'm also going to give you solutions for those 4, what I feel are the 4 major flaws of this content, which overall, in its theory, in its design, I love the content. I'm going to tell you right now, I love it, but I think in order to make it accessible, it needs to change. And so let's start with it. Let's start with the reasons why I don't like it. The first thing I don't like is the risk versus reward. You have to put a lot. I have so far spent about 100 million silver. I have swapped and swapped and switched gear all over. And keep in mind, they were giving us free gear swap for a while there. And still, 100 million silver, only to be able to get the hard chest twice. The top chest, hard chest twice. I think I got brutal the first rotation. And I will get the top chest hard here and last week. So very, very difficult. And to put that much effort, not only in resources, but in my time and effort, and the overall giving the time that I have in the day with a full-time job, trying to make content for you guys, trying to play the rest of the game, and then try to tackle Hydra, the risk versus reward isn't there. The rewards need to be better. I'm not saying the stone skin. I think at these lower levels, if anything, you could probably offer less of the stone skin, but offer something else. Offer something that new players want. Maybe normal has reintroduced rare books just at normal, epic books just at hard. You know, legendary books at brutal. Something, I don't know. I don't know what, because I don't think it needs to just be another Hydra clan boss. But I do think that the risk versus reward here, currently as it stands, is too low, and maybe making lowering the risk will make the current rewards worth it. We'll see. The second thing and problem I have is the specific champions you need to be able to actually put together a team. You look here, and I look right now, and Goddess Minerva, I know that I'm pretty sure she has a Duchess. And so that first team, this is her second year. Her first team was probably the Duchess. She has a high-level account. She's one of the higher player powers in the game. She doesn't have Shamael. She's only got one Duchess. And that makes this content so difficult. For a high-level player, Josetta is another one, very high-level account, struggling mightily. Not struggling mightily, but struggling to put together teams that can actually compete on this. And, you know, at normal and hard, that seems wrong to me. Now, some of this is just as a clan, we need to get together and be a little bit more proactive in helping each other compete in this content. 100%, I am included in that, as well as those of us who have put together teams, just offering ideas on how to make this content easier for all of us. But it shouldn't be that difficult when we're only at hard. And the specific champions you need, let's not just talk about the fact that the Fear needs either Shamael or one of 4 champions that have Veil, one of which is very situational with Quargon. I always want to call him the bold, but it's Quargon the something, the annoying. I don't know. What's his name? You can let me know in the comments down below. But you need a buff extender, right? Because the Duchess does not put, it's only a 2-turn. So you'll be in trouble if you don't also have a properly tuned extender. I have Krisk. It so happens I have 2 Krisks. That's my luck in RNG. But most people don't have one, which means now you've got a slot. So I have Krisk, who's serving multiple purposes. He's debuffer. He's a ally protect. And he's shield at the beginning. And he's a buff extension. So you put that all together, and he's a speed debuff. So he's got so many different abilities into one champion. But if you don't have Krisk, you have to put in one of the other buff extension champions who may not have all that ability. Hope, for example, she has shield. She's probably a pretty good epic to use if you need to, but not the level of Krisk, especially when you consider now you still need debuffs, you still need all these other things. As you can see on this team, the synergy was very important. You need to have damage. You need to have multiple AoE. Enemy max HP is the most important. You see I have Husk here. Husk is a double S tier champion for these encounters, especially this one because of the affinity of the bosses. But Royal Guard's the other big one. There's not really any other viable choice other than those two that have the AoE enemy max HP champions. HP Burn's another great one. I think Geomancer is very good. You see the two above me have used Geomancer to the fullest in order to do great damage on this. You need a defense down and weaken. Somehow you see Lydia's here. Not everyone has a Lydia. You need block buffs in this particular iteration against the poison cloud. The damage is severely mitigated if you don't have something like that, which means you either need to block that cloud from happening, or you need to put up the HP burn, which I believe the cloud does not mitigate. So again, there's so many very specific things you need to be able to beat this, and it's hard. We're at level hard. So that is the first one. Specific champions, specific attributes. Tuhanaruk, by the way, double S tier as well. Even Doom Priest, I'd say single S tier because there's too many buffs. Sometimes it doesn't work, but definitely for getting rid of that fear, helpful. Definitely helpful. So you have that. What's next? So we talked about risk versus reward. We talked about specific champions. The next is the RNG. The RNG, the 2 extra heads. So no matter what team you put together, no matter how well you're doing on the content, as soon as you kill a head, you run the risk of a different head showing up that you have no plan for. And to be able to put 6 champions together, 2 of your champions basically have to be what-if champions in order to fully comprise this, or you have to have such stacked abilities on your champions like a Brogni, like a Duchess, like a Krisk, where they do so many things very well that you can still get away with the other champions coming in. I mean, the current run here, you've got 4 champions, great team for it, but the second you get that champion that cleanses, then your block buffs is gone. Now you have to actually start manualing to make sure that happens right. Then, hey, look, I'm using Mashaled. Well, without the leech, I can't heal my team properly here. Without the leech, I can't do as much AoE damage. So these things continually happen, and you need to have these specific champions, especially when it comes to eating your champion is one of the biggest things that you have to deal with here. As a matter of fact, if you look at a team I was playing on Brutal, this team was on pace to 1-key Brutal until it got eaten. And you can see here, I only have 1 AoE champion, AoE max HP champion, or AoE champion at all. But who do I replace to bring in a second AoE champion? Like, which one of these champions do I take out? Do I take out Lydia and hope that these guys just hit my Krisk enough to have defense down and attack down on? Maybe not. Do I take out Modu Macabre, who's my block buffs champion? Well, then what? Then the cloud comes up and I don't have an answer for weak hits and all that, and my damage goes down. If I don't have Brogni and Krisk together, I don't have the level of survivability for my nuking champions to survive. There's so many intricacies here, and very specific champions are needed. But again, the RNG of these back 2 is far too high to really make it viable to play. And the final thing that I believe is an issue is the how the scalability or the scaling of this encounter is broken. Normal is way too hard of a starting point as compared to how hard Nightmare is. Based on what I've seen, and based on the fact that I tested this team that's right here, my 1-key hard, I was probably, although I didn't play it all the way through, I was probably going to be close to, if not at, 1 key Brutal with the same team. Nightmare, I don't know. Probably if I would have been maxed the champions a little bit more, stolen a little bit more gear, made them a little bit more survivable, I might even be able to 1 key Nightmare. But if you aren't at that point, you aren't anywhere. My free-to-play account, which is in its level 70s level, can't even 3 key normal to get max chest, and that to me is a scalability issue of epic proportions. This is the first new content we've had in about 5 months, just offhand, maybe even 6 months since the Doom Tower. And to eliminate such a large portion of the player base immediately from being able to compete in this content, well, now we have, what are they going to wait another 3, 4, 5 months to the next big piece of content so that they can actually play the new content? Or there's going to be 3, 4 months before they can even touch this content? I understand that Plarium's looking to make people spend money, and I get it, and they're doing so. They're monetizing the crap out of this. You're gonna see every 10 times, every specific kind of gimmicky get a new champion thing is probably gonna have something to do with Hydra. Either the underutilized so far Hex debuff. I don't think anyone's really come around to using that as a key part of their team strategy. Or it'll be an HP burn champion, or it'll be an enemy max HP veil champion, ally protect champion. These specific champions that you need, especially the top tier ones, they're going to make a ton of money off them. And why shouldn't they? But people who are low spend free to play are just going to ignore it, because again, you talk about risk versus reward. The risk is a monetary risk at this point for these players, and they're not going to risk their money for as little as reward as they're going to get just to progress to maybe hard. So, you know, the scalability is broken in this. So that's where I think we are. How do we move forward? How do we get on? Well, I have an idea that I think might actually work in order to make this, make the vision they had of Hydra continue to be, while making it easier for people to get their feet wet and jump into the content. And here's what I think. On Nightmare, I believe Nightmare should be exactly as it is now, no changes needed. I think it's hard endgame content. I think that people that can get to this content should be spending 3 keys to get through this content. I don't think that there should be a 1 key Nightmare team out there just yet. Maybe eventually, maybe we can figure it out. Or there should be very few, right? It shouldn't be easy to do. I get that. Where the scalability starts pushing back is on Brutal. And I think Brutal should be the same as Nightmare. No changes needed, except I think the overall difficulty, that is the defense, offense, resistance, and accuracy of the encounter, should be lowered. And I think the chest should be scaled back slightly. Also, there should be 4 chests available. I don't understand why there's 2 warrior chests that basically then just have 3 different levels and started at 7.35 million. I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense to me. It's the same chest. So a little weird. But nonetheless, I think you can, at Brutal, you make it 26 million. You ease up a little bit on the difficulty of the boss, but for the most part, keep it the same. Now, how does that help anyone? Well, it comes to normal and hard. It's the introduction to the game. Normal should be fairly easy to do. You should at least be able to encounter it. I think if it unlocks at level 45, then people at level 45 should be able to 3 key it, or come close, or progress quickly towards that goal. I think normal to hard should be the first major stepping stone. Hard to brutal, the stepping stone. Brutal to nightmare is more of a better gear, better time, better effort. You know, I think that's how it should go, and that's currently not how it is. So how do I do this? I think on hard, you should not have, the RNG should be removed. You should not have the 2 extra heads. I think if hard was exactly as it is now, but there's only 4 heads, maybe a little bit easier, just again to scale it with brutal. So if you make brutal a little bit easier, make hard the same percentage easier, 10% less, defense, 10% less damage, that sort of thing. But mostly get rid of the 2 extra heads, and I think a lot more people will be able to deal with this content and do it fairly easily. And yet you're still keeping the overall essence of the game. You're still teaching people how to fight this boss. You're just taking away that extra bit of RNG with those swap in heads. And then normal, very simple, normal, again, same thing. Keep it where it is, maybe in line with the other 2, make it a little bit easier, a little bit less damage, a little bit, but take out the eating right? So if you look at this the other way, on normal, you'd fight 4 Hydra bosses, whatever they are, the 4 you're going to get. If you kill a head, it's going to spawn back as the same head. Okay, they can swap positions. That's irrelevant, right? So if you kill 2 at the same time, they could swap each other when they grow, but it'd be the same 4 heads in play at all times, and you never get a champion eat. So it'd be a good, easy way to get introduced into the game, start the game. Also, for people who want to play the Hydra boss but may not have the time to sink into it, they know they can at least come into the normal chest and get something for their effort. Then you go to the hard, you're adding the introduction of the champion getting eaten. It's a harder boss, higher damage, higher HP, higher resistance, accuracy, speeds, all that scales up. But you still have just the 4 main heads, and you're just fighting those 4 main heads. Again, it's the stepping stone of having to deal with the fact that one of your champions might get eaten. Then you move to Brutal. Now you're adding the 2 extra heads. So again, you've got the stepping stone of the previous 2 mechanics. You've got increased damage, increased defense, speed, accuracy, resistance. But now you also have to deal with the fact that every 16 turns or whatever it is, and scaling downwards each time, you're going to lose a champion and have to kill, as the mechanic goes. And then Nightmare is what it is, which is the full gambit. It does everything. It's got the RNG. It's got the eating of champions, and it's got its full damage potential, its full defense potential, its full speed, resistance, and accuracy potential. Then you've even got a push to go to Ultra Nightmare. Ultra Nightmare, you can do the same thing, but you said you're going to add 2 new heads eventually. Now, Ultra Nightmare, you've got 4 reserve heads. So it's everything else the same, scaled up damage, etc., but now the RNG is even greater because you've got 8 total heads to deal with at any given time. 4 at any given time, but 8 in the encounter. And then Super Duper Ultra Nightmare, which is the last one you said you wanted to add. You've got it's just Ultra Nightmare stepped up. So you've got all the mechanics in the game with the 4 heads in reserve, plus there. I think that this would make this a lot easier. I think that in order to test this, you should be looking at what percentage of level 50 accounts, 50 to 60 accounts, are actually able to get the chests under normal. How many can actually even compete at hard or try hard, and scale it to that level and scale it up that way. But I think just removing those 2 mechanics would make this a much easier and a much better progression point for the game. So those are my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's not enough? Do you think it's too much? Do you think the concept of the Hydra is even good? I think it's wonderful, but maybe you have a different opinion. Let me know in the comments down below. Remember, all opinions are respected and can be heard, even if we disagree with them. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel, as many of you who watch these do not subscribe. Probably watching them through Discord or Reddit. So I hope, by the way, sidebar, I'm not actually going to post to Reddit anymore. I find that the negativity there is far outweighs the extra views I get on videos. So we're going to try a little while not posting to Reddit, see if it changes the views at all in this. Hopefully it doesn't. That's all I have for you. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.